Hey guys, it's Ross Scott and on the Space Coach. Continuing your series of John K. Morton photo books, we're going to have a look at this. Flying colours, airline colour schemes of the 1990s. So these are the airlines that were still in existence at the point this came out. The modern livery. So you see Land Chile, American Airlines, Canadian Pacific, and Air Seychelles. Then on the back, Viva Hispana, Tower Air, and Aero Mexico, or is it Mexicana? Aero Mexico. See the old Aer Lingus colours, the livery prior to the current one. Very attractive it was too. China Southern, I think, don't they still have this livery or have they changed it? It's very attractive, the use of the blue on the cheek line. You see various others. There's Canadian Pacific 747, a rare shot by the way, that is. United 747s, Qantas, there'll be a 767 I expect, and there you see Cathay. Mexicana, long gone actually since. A320s in variant schemes. So I've been a bit closer, I don't know if you can make out, you can see there's more patterning on the tail there, and on that one. That's the 70s livery, I guess. So it's the same colour scheme, but with different types of variant. For instance, here, that shows a bit better on the tail, the pattern on the tail. I don't just mean the Aztec M, but attractive livery. There is that fabled Aero Peru / Fawcett Tristar in a combined livery there, because obviously we've seen some of their other planes and other stuff. TACA. It's a very attractive livery. I think, who are they part of now? Copa or someone, I'm not sure. They had a 767-200 and a 737-200. I think they were the only two planes that they had. They flew this for a very long time. There's one. A merger between two airlines of TAN and SASA to become TAN SASA. Ladico, I think they're bust now actually. Their old livery and a much more modern livery. It's quite attractive on the 737. Laxa. A320, probably coming into land at Miami. I think that might be Costa Rica. Yeah, San Jose. And then Equatorial. Obviously we saw their very psychedelic colour scheme on the 707. In one of the earlier books, but here we see what was, I think, the final livery on the 707, and also they had an A310. They also had a DC-10, which I think wore both this livery and the psychedelic one, but I'm not sure about the psychedelic one. It definitely wore this. As you can see, just a slight difference in the cheek line. Here it's narrower than it is on the Airbus, just maybe a slight little refresh of the colour scheme there. Land Chile Cargo 707 and an Aviateca 737. Quite a nice livery. Copa and Avianca. There's Copa. Avianca. Are they still flying? Or are they like LAN or something, or part of LAN? I think there might still be. Or is it LAN Avianca? Is something that all the mergers in South American Airlines the last few years, it's very confusing. So there is Sansa DC-3. I think this is a Sam Columbia 727. What's that one? SATA. Yes. Now we have British Airways in its old colour scheme. That was the world's greatest offer. Two 757s and this 737-200, which I flew up to Newcastle and back many, many times. Concorde and the Excalibur A320, of course, that I mentioned previously about how my friend's girlfriend flew on it. Monarch and Dan Air classics 757, 737. Gatwick tails. So we've got Virgin, Philippines, Continental, American Airlines, Cathay. That's all I can see in there for now. Oh, and Air Europe, just there. So Aer Lingus shot again. And there's Air UK Leisure, which was their charter offshoot back in the days before low-cost airlines made charter airlines superfluous. Viva Air and Birmingham European, they, BEA, they kind of franchise that from British Airways. I think it's like a British Airways offshoot or a franchisee, and they used BEA. Obviously, it used to be British European Airways, but for this on Birmingham European Airways. Lufthansa in that colour scheme, the 80 scheme, which is actually very attractive. Air Berlin 737. LTU Tristar, they had a big fleet of these, and of MD-11s and A330s, very attractive livery. And a Maersk 737, and it's a very attractive two-tone shade of blue. I know Maersk as a shipping company is still around, I don't think the airline is though. Norway Airlines, that'll be at Gatwick I expect. And this Con Air is actually at Fort Lauderdale, a Danish airline, heading back to Denmark. This is long before the days of narrow-bodied airlines flying that distance. Let's just see. Yeah, it arrived from Denmark and departed after only 50 minutes on the ground. Yeah. Long-distance charter operations, I guess it happened. Air Sweden and Air Toulouse, very attractive on the Caravelle. Not a bad livery on that one either. Air Belgium and Swissair MD-11, the classic livery. Yugoslavensky Aerotransport and Turkish Airlines. So, JAT, obviously they're now Air Serbia. Turkish did similar the current livery, but obviously they've added the tulip on the rear fuselage, and maybe the font is a little bit different, and perhaps the design of the bird is different, I'm not sure. But that is their classic livery of the 70s and on their A310s. Looks great on this, looks great on their DC-10s as well. There's an Istanbul Airlines 727, one of the multiple Turkish airlines that comes and goes. Sun Express, Tunisat and Lauda Air. It was one of these that crashed in Thailand about 20 years ago for Lauda Air. And this was, I think it's between Turkish and Lufthansa, this airline was owned. And then you just see Tunisat down at the bottom. An Air Malta 737. A 200 looking at the engines. Sterling of Denmark. Attractive. And then Meridiana of Italy. Based actually I think in Florence. The actual Florence airport, not the Pisa airport. Then we've got some Qantas. An SP, a 767, a 747-200. And obviously that livery is slightly modified since, but not much. And there is a great one of a 737-300 in front of the Sydney skyline. Compass, they were one of the short-lived Australian domestic carriers, very attractive livery on the Ray 300. They relaunched later with, I think, TC9s, but they didn't last long. There's Australian. I think they were previously Trans-Australian, then they became Ansett, and then they were Bus. Some more. See in the back it says Ansett Australia. Or maybe Ansett was a separate airline, I forget now. But it's the green and yellow. It's a very common Australian colours. Yeah. Yes, it was Ansett. It was Ansett Australia. It was the same airline, and they modified the livery when they took delivery of the 747-300s. It went to this. Oh no, it didn't have the Union flag on it. East West, that's one of the older Australian airlines, no longer around. Fokker F28, 737. Solomon's Air. And Air Pacific of Fiji. Looks great, that colour scheme on the 747. They don't operate that anymore, but they did have this scheme on other planes. But now it's basically those thick bands, it's now just a very thin strip of those bands down at the rear fuselage, if that livery has indeed not been updated again. Air New Guinea and Air Nauru, some of these Pacific carriers. A300, 737. Air India. The failed livery of the 1990s that they tried to replace this with, but they then had to walk back and put this back in charge. And there you see a TWA 747 and an Indian Airlines A320, one of the earliest customers for the A320. East-West Airlines. Then an Emirates Airbus A300. And their livery has barely changed. Emirates is a recently formed company founded in 1985 and based in Dubai. A comprehensive service is provided by the airline from its international airport in the UAE with a fleet of 727 and Airbus A300 and A310 jets. A thrice weekly flight from Dubai to Bangkok and Manila was in operation with Airbus A300 A6EKE when it was photographed in March 1991. Now, well, not now, but I do believe it's probably at least 3 flights a day rather than 3 flights a week. And there we see an Iran Air 747 SP, a Ghana Airways DC-10. Attractive livery. Royal Jordanian, Biman Bangladesh, and they flew this plane until just a year or two ago. Their DC-10s have now got 787s and 777s. So Gulf Air 767, Egypt Air A300 in their old scheme, which again was very attractive, the old Horus livery. Is that one actually called? No, that was called Isis. Another one was called Horus. Then there's a Zambia Airways DC-10 and Ava Air 767. They changed their livery a bunch of times when they first launched. Asiana changed their livery from this one since. Vietnam has got a much more modern livery also. And there's that China Southern 757 again. So Chinese Airlines now, Air China and China Eastern. So is that 767, that's a A300. Yeah, 767 and A300. So Thai planes now. 400, an old 737 and the lineup of tails. I loved that livery, it's so beautiful. Prefer it to the current one, although it's not bad. Garuda Indonesia. I think they've changed this since, but it's still very similar. Korean Air, MD-11, 747, and a Pan Am and TWA in there as well. So that dates it to pre-1991. Because that's when Pan Am was 1991, but TWA was 2000, 2001. So had to be before Pan Am went. And there is their Morton livery, which they still have now on the DC-10s. The classic Cathay livery in one of their Tristars, and then there's an A310 of Singapore Airlines. One of their 747-300s, the big top as they called it, and this, what is that? It's an A310. And then we've got an All Nippon Airways Tristar, very nice. Again, not that many pictures of this plane in this livery. And then Nippon Cargo Airlines 747. Dragonair, which is now I think Cathay Dragonair, but they used to fly a couple of Tristars probably from Cathay, which were replaced by A330s. And then you see a China Airlines 747. They had a terrible record of losing their 747s. Royal Brunei 767, which they flew to Heathrow via Dubai from Bandar Seri Begawan, and there's a FedEx 727. Emery Worldwide 727. America West, now part of American Airlines. That might be a 100 because they did all operate some 100s. Doesn't specify. Now this is a livery that's just being phased out. It's still worn on some of their planes. The Boeing 767 luxury liner. Northwest, the bowling shoe livery, then the cargo livery, then Sun Country, also based in Minneapolis. Delta Tristar, and this will be a 767 or a 757. 757. Bahamas Air 727. A couple of Tower airplanes, that's their full livery, that's just an interim one there. US Air, multiple different schemes. This looks like it's from Piedmont. This looks like it's from Allegheny, and this is a combined US Air scheme. And that'll be an interim as well. Right. Florida West down here, 707. Evergreen, and who's this? Comair. Not sure if they're still flying, I think they are. I flew on Rich International Tristars, but it was not painted like this. It was an all-white fuselage, and there is one of their DC-8s. There's a Kalita DC-8. They also fly 747s. Carnival Airlines. The older colour scheme for Southwest Airlines. American Transair Tristar. Airbus now, forget who, if anyone, they merged into. And there's some Alaska Airlines planes. Continental Tc-10, which used Gatwick, 737, and then the colour scheme that replaced this one was first introduced on their A300s, and obviously with the merger with United, which has actually just changed again, but it was basically this scheme, but it just said United, and obviously there's the wavy line down here, and it's a two-tone blue, I think, the globe now. Hawaiian Airlines, DC-8, Canada 3000 757, Nation Air Canada 747. What looks like it's a TWA plane, the livery, doesn't it? Because there's the blue there, the 3 windows, and the cheek line. Yes, had previously served in the fleet of TWA, whose basic colours it still carried. Then Canadian DC-10 and Air Canada A320, very attractive livery. There's a 727, I assume, coming into land at Miami, because they always seem to be coming into land at Miami. And yes, it was New Year's Eve in Miami. And that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed flying colours, airline colour schemes of the 1990s. Just about all of those colour schemes have now been phased out, although in some cases only within the last couple of years, like Lufthansa and American Airlines, for instance. They've had fairly recent updates to their livery. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or suggestion for a topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.